Okay, we are about to begin our data collection of resting metabolic rate. Our client has been laying here on the table, resting quietly for about 15 minutes already. She rested for 10 minutes. And then I put the canopy and hood over her. This device is going to help us collect the gas exchange that occurs during her restful breathing while we're assessing resting metabolic rate. So already she's been supine and restful for 15 minutes. And now we're going to begin to collect data for 10 minutes using the metabolic cart. Okay, so we now have the metabolic cart running, and it's going to begin collecting data about her breathing rate and about the concentration of the gases, specifically oxygen and CO2. We're not assessing heart rate right now, so I'm just going to move that out of the window. So we're beginning to see data being plotted on the screen. VO2 is being recorded in milliliters per minute and is shown by the red line. VCO2, carbon dioxide, in milliliters per minute is being shown in the blue line. One thing that's important during this data collection is that the flow of air through the canopy hood and the tube is constant. And so we have this little device over here that is regulating the flow of air that's going through those tubes from what our client is breathing. I'm getting a warning down there in that red line that the flow is too low, and so it's encouraging me to adjust the flow through the flow meter to make that more optimal. So on the left side, we see the volume of the gases being plotted in red and blue. And in the figure on the right, this y-axis is the respiratory exchange ratio. So in the first few minutes, the RER was just above 0.8, and now it's coming down a little bit lower, probably as we're getting more accurate data collection here. On the right-hand side, you can also see VO2, VCO2 being plotted. This piece of equipment abbreviates respiratory exchange ratio just with a simple R. So at this moment, the respiratory exchange ratio is 0.8. This top variable is forced expiratory CO2. This is ventilation rate. And those are some important variables for you to notice. I'm getting another warning about the flow rate, probably because our participant is relaxing some and breathing a little more slowly. So I'm just adjusting that to keep the data as accurate as possible. The knob is very sensitive when you adjust the flow rate. So anytime you make a change, you need to wait about 30 seconds to see how that small adjustment plays out. So I can tell from this data that our participant did a great job adhering to the testing protocols. So she avoided strenuous exercise in the last day for 24 hours. She hasn't eaten a meal in the last 3 hours. And I can tell this because her respiratory exchange ratio is getting fairly low, down close to 0.7, which is the lowest you would expect for somebody who's fasted. So that's great that our participant is so compliant. If she had just eaten a meal, probably a meal that contained carbohydrates, that would be reflected in the respiratory exchange ratio. If she had exercised really hard, high intensity workout, that epoch could last for 24 hours, maybe depending on the intensity of the exercise. So best to have a day of rest before data collection of resting metabolic rate if you want the most accurate results possible. So we're just reaching 10 minutes of data collection. I'm going to let it go for a few more seconds because it appears that the record of data is a little lagging behind the actual time of data collection. But now we've certainly collected enough and 10 minutes of data.